By now, many of you have either been delighted or devastated by Captain America Civil War, and the fandom has gone into overdrive with continuations, fix-its, and art abounding. While the usual suspects are very much at the forefront, with Stucky actually surging forward and overtaking Stoney to become the dominant pairing in the fandom, there are some new ships emerging. And we need to talk about one that has taken some people by surprise. This is Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy, and it's time to get to know the ship known as both T'Chaki and Winter Panther, but mostly T'Chaki. Our players for this ship will be Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, and King T'Challa, the Black Panther. This phenomenon emerges almost exclusively from the film verse. These two have little to no interaction in the comic verse, though with the release of this film, that may change. People love some horizontal tie-in marketing material. Warning, there will be spoilers since their relationship is so tied to this film, so get out now or you will be spoiled and potentially bothered, and no one wants that. While no one wants to be spoiled, they do want and love some Bucky Barnes, who is quickly zooming into favorite character status for many people. But who the hell is Bucky? James Buchanan Barnes, aka Bucky, is Captain America's childhood friend turned super soldier after he was captured by Hydra/the Soviets and brainwashed to be a killing machine. Kept in cryostasis between missions, he has beaten some, but not all of his programming, and is trying to negotiate all the horrors he has committed with the person he now is and the memories he is currently recovering. Since his first on-screen appearance, the Winter Soldier has soared in popularity as audiences gravitated towards the tragedy of his backstory and the charisma of cast actor Sebastian Stan, who is apparently, according to the internet, the secret son of Mark Hamill. And with a rep like that, and an amazing ability to wear guyliner, it's no wonder people are pairing the characters he plays with anything that moves. In this case, his partner is none other than Prince turned King T'Challa of the reclusively advanced state of Wakanda. This Wakandan monarch is on a quest for vengeance following the death of his father that has forced him into a position he was not quite ready for. His path for vengeance leads him straight into the Winter Soldier. These two spend the majority of the film locked in combat or chasing each other down. So where is this pairing coming from? Well, and now it's spoiler time, Bucky ends up residing in Wakanda as shown in the film's mid-credits stinger, putting himself into cryostasis for the good of humanity. And so, the stage was set. Bucky in the MCU is a very damaged individual, still very much in the beginning stages of his recovery, and as such, many feel he is in need of emotional support and guidance. And the extremely level-headed and honorable portrayal of T'Challa left many thinking perhaps he could be that person. Also, people could not believe that T'Challa would just leave Bucky in cryostasis that whole time, and that true recovery can only come from him being outside and learning to negotiate who he is, of course with T'Challa's help. T'Challa is shown to be a man who believes in justice and in healing, and as such seems the sort who would lend a kind ear to Bucky and provide him with a completely safe environment to heal. Because unlike Steve, he has no pre-existing expectations of a past Bucky for the Winter Soldier to live up to. Likewise, Bucky would have little to no expectations of the young king, and as such he would not always have to keep up the air of regalness and propriety expected of royalty. Due to the intensity of their fight scenes and the gazes they share throughout, especially when Bucky is being forced to the ground in handcuffs, this fandom has got a lot of smut going on. Some of these fics are absolutely filthy. So if PWP men banging in Wakanda is your thing, this pairing is 100% something you need in your life. So why would people not ship it? Well, the reason these two may not be an obvious pairing choice extends past their lack of screen time and enters a realm of potential cultural bias. Every society has a different history with interracial relations, and some are more fraught with controversy and intolerance than others. There is a half-joke, half-complaint that floats around fan communities that if you throw any two attractive male Caucasian protagonists on screen, no matter how bland or their lack of chemistry, you will have them shipped regardless. And this will happen whether they have stronger relations with any other characters, especially if those other characters are ethnic. The fact is that in many societies, and in this case with this kind of pairing of Caucasian and African American or African, in North America, and particularly the United States, there is still a lot of intolerance on all sides when it comes to interracial pairings. You saw this occur when a heterosexual interracial ad ran for Old Navy clothing, and much drama ensued along with a lot of gross messages just posted out there on social media for the world to see. And when it comes to acknowledging that interraciality occurs in homosexual couples, for many that is not even on their radar or is simply too much to handle. Not all of this is due to racism or bigotry. For some, they have simply grown up in non-diverse areas, and such pairings would not happen because people of other races do not interact with each other. And as such, having never encountered such an occurrence, it is not part of these people's worldview or paradigm, as most relationships are born of proximity, as in going to the same school, working in the same place, or being in a club together, etc. Though there are, of course, exceptions. For example, online dating is bringing a lot of people together who would otherwise never have met each other. There are, however, some who feel that interracial relationships are wrong and keep statistical charts on marrying out and race purity. There is actually an interrelationship approval chart that is regularly tallied every few years. This history of intolerance is long and nuanced, as in the States, for example, it only became legal for people of different races to marry each other in the 60s, 1967 to be exact. And that is not that long ago in the grand scheme of things. And as for homosexual marriage, that is still a topic of contention for many. So imagine how those people feel about interracial homosexual marriage. There are a lot of cultural fears about loss of identity, cultural erosion, and loss of status that color the lenses when it comes to interracial relations. And you see it reflected in fiction, both official and in fandom, and in shipping. For example, in the Jessica Jones fandom, the pairing popularity chart goes as follows: Jessica Jones and Patricia Walker, Jessica Jones and Kilgrave, and then Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. Luke Cage being her canon comic love interest to whom she is married and has a child. Contrast this with the enduring love and representation for Bucky and Nat lovers from the comics, and Bucky and Nat have yet to interact outside of a fight scene on screen versus Jones and Cage, who shared a full-on romantic subplot and several sex scenes. There are some who feel that this narrative threatens the telling of a truly ethnic story, and that to ship it or hope for Bucky to be in the next Black Panther film is in itself racist, which speaks to an issue of lack of representation in films. However, it could also be said that by proclaiming such a statement, it perpetuates another silencing of representation, that of interracialness and a denial of shifting multicultural and integrated lived experiences. However, Captain America Civil War yields an encouraging trend of equal opportunity pairing. Though Stucky is dominating, that seems to be more on a narrative basis than an ulterior one. The pairing of T'Chaki showcases a willingness to explore the merging of two cultures without the erosion of either through the joining of two very different people from two very different backgrounds, who both bring something unique to their relationship without overpowering the other. It is important to note that intolerance is not the only reason someone wouldn't ship this. There is of course the OTP-ness of Stucky and the seeming randomness of this pairing. Or maybe Bucky just needs to move his seat up. It is also important to acknowledge the wide variety of interracial relationships that are possible, as it is easy to fall into dichotomous talk, especially when the discussion centers around North America. When this occurs, people tend to leave out the many diverse groups as well as their struggles who are also engaged in this discussion. It is important when discussing such issues to include as many people and groups as possible and not get bogged down in simplistic arguments. Interracial dating can present complications, especially if the environment wherein one is trying to do so is not supportive or has other expectations. However, it can also be a rewarding experience based entirely on love that transcends the expectations and traditional viewpoints of society and creates an entirely unique and new worldview. This deserves representation as much as any other type of relationship. So for those intrigued and ready to dive into something they may not have thought of before, T'Chaki may be for you, or maybe you're just here for the smut, in which case, welcome. Side note, there's also a really tiny T'Challa and Black Widow fandom going on if Het is more your cup of tea. Are you as into shipping everybody and everything from this movie as I am? Who's your favorite character from the MCU? Let me know down there in the comments below. I have like 8 more of these Marvel vids scripted because I'm obsessed after Civil War, but I have to contain myself because this is Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy, and there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky. Not just Marvel ones. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Check out social media to stay up to date, and as always, stay tuned and keep shipping, and I'll catch you next time.